with this. Unified super featherweight champion Mikaela Mayer took to social media and stated, I agree with J.D. Mack. That's Jessica McCaskill, undisputed welterweight champion. She said Katie Taylor's next opponent doesn't suffice. She needs to challenge herself against the up-and-coming and current champions to solidify her legacy. Champs like me.
Well.
And this is a very strange comment coming from Mikaela Mayer, of all people.
Mikaela Mayer, who sports a professional record of 16 wins and no losses.
You do realize that by the time Katie Taylor was 16-0, she was already an undisputed two-division champion. You do realize that.
Are you an undisputed two-division champion, Mikaela?
By the time Katie Taylor had 16 professional fights, she had already fought 4 world champions at 135 pounds and 1 world champion at 140 pounds. She was undisputed at 135 and a champion at 140, making her an undisputed two-division champion. Mikaela Mayer can't say the same, yet Mikaela Mayer thinks she's the gatekeeper.
She thinks she's the one that's got to punch Katie Taylor's Hall of Fame ballot.
Punch her Hall of Fame ticket. Are you fucking kidding me?
Is she serious?
There are more intelligent ways to campaign for a Katie Taylor fight. In truth, as a competitor, I can't blame Mikaela for wanting to fight Katie Taylor.
There are smarter ways to go about it.
Bad-mouthing her quality of competition, that ain't one of them, because the truth is, she's fighting Firuza Sharipova in her very next fight. Before this year is out, she is Firuza, who just so happens to be one of her mandatory challengers. I'd sure like to know when Mikaela's going to satisfy one. Better still, she's fighting her mandatory challenger, Firuza Sharipova, who Mikaela seems to be shading, but Firuza's a better fighter than most of the fighters that Mikaela has fought so far. You heard that right. Firuza Sharipova is a more talented boxer than most of the boxers that Mikaela has fought, save Maiva Hamadouche.
And Diva Brutnitska.
Mikaela Mayer just ain't got the resume. She just ain't got the body of work to be shooting off at the mouth like this. If there's any fighter out there that's off limits...
Off limits for this kind of criticism?
It's Katie. And it's Katie by a wide margin, because I reiterate, you're 16-0 now. By the time she was 16-0, she got a hell of a lot more done than you have so far.
She could retire right now if she wanted to.
With a better legacy and a more robust body of work than most of, if not all of, the other girls that are out there right now. Firuza Sharipova is but a prelude to a bigger fight. A much bigger fight than any fight that Mikaela Mayer has had so far. In a Mandia Serrano fight, we all know that Katie's capping the year off with Firuza, but she means to lock horns with Mandia Serrano.
She's supposed to be fighting her after Firuza.
It's the weirdest thing, because Mikaela Mayer's coming off a very big win. An impressive one, if I do say so myself. She just pried away the blue belt from Maiva Hamadouche. Maiva Hamadouche, who was beaten by Delphine Persoon.
Years ago.
The way I see it, the best name on Mikaela Mayer's resume is the name of Maiva Hamadouche. Whereas the name of Delphine Persoon, who beat Maiva before Mikaela, that's just one of the good names on Katie Taylor's resume. That's not even the best one. You could argue that the name of Jessica McCaskill is even better than the name of Delphine Persoon.
Or Maiva Hamadouche.
Katie Taylor beat Jessica McCaskill years ago. Jessica McCaskill, who stands here today as a two-division champion, unified at 140 pounds and undisputed at 147 pounds. That's a victory that has aged like fine wine, so much so that the name of Jessica McCaskill is a bigger name on Katie Taylor's resume than the name of Maiva Hamadouche is on Mikaela's resume.
I love Maiva, but facts are facts.
And if that's not enough for you, remember, Maiva Hamadouche suffered her first professional loss at the hands of Delphine Persoon. Delphine Persoon, who Katie Taylor boxed 2 times.
She didn't have to fight her 2 times, but she did.
You think there's any chance we see a Maiva Hamadouche rematch sometime next year?
Do you think Mikaela Mayer has any intention of fighting her again?
The way that Katie fought Delphine 2 times.
Yeah, I don't think so.
The moral of the story here is, kids, that Mikaela Mayer's in no position to talk. It is that simple.
Well, she can talk if she wants to.
She wants to be blasted and lambasted the way she was when she posted this tweet. Have you seen the comments under this tweet? Have you seen what people had to say to Mikaela as a result of mouthing off?
Oh, yeah, she can keep shooting off at the mouth if she wants to leave herself open to criticism.
Mikaela Mayer know what time it is. You know, I'm top dog. She's never been in a ring with a dog before. You know, I'm a pit bull chained up. She's like the poodle in a picket white fence, you know what I'm saying, barking for no reason.
Mikaela Mayer doesn't need to worry about Katie Taylor and what she's doing. She needs to worry about Alicia Baumgartner. I don't actually think Mikaela Mayer is on Katie Taylor's radar, but she is on Alicia Baumgartner's radar.
And she has been for years.
Mikaela needs to pay special attention to what's going on in her own weight class. She needs to focus on what's in front of her, because what's in front of her, it ain't Katie Taylor, it's Alicia Baumgartner. In other news, former unified champion Teofimo Lopez took to social media and stated, "I have everything I could ever ask for. Thank you for the blessings. Day by day, we get the opportunity to grow more within ourselves. Every day you get is a day closer to God. Many people are opinionated, but don't dare to face their problems. Instead, they point at others. I can't wait until they hear how I managed to do all of this. God is truly in my corner. My faith is the strongest. P.S. Still in the hospital in ICU.
Is it possible Teofimo was injured?
Is it possible he was under the weather? Is it possible that he was sick this past Saturday night?
We're hearing a lot of things about the Teofimo Lopez side of things.
Tumultuous relationship with his father, family issues, a divorce.
There's always been a lot of instability associated with Team Lopez.
That didn't start on Saturday night, and it's unfortunate because Teofimo had, and in some ways still has, all the makings of a young, bright star.
Teofimo Lopez seen here doing a backflip post-fight.
After the judges' scorecards were read and the outcome of the fight was decided, it seems like Teofimo just couldn't accept it. He was in shock.
In denial.
These celebratory acrobatics accent that denial, accent that shock, that trauma, because I do believe that this young man has been traumatized. He's dealing with a whole lot. There's a whole lot on Teofimo Lopez's plate.
He just got married and he's already getting a divorce.
God only knows why. And I'd be lying to you if I said that that didn't have its role to play. I'd be lying to you if I said that that likely put Teofimo Lopez in a very poor mental state.
I ain't heartless.
I ain't unsympathetic. It seems to me that ahead of this fight, this young man, he had a lot on his mind.
Does that take away from George Kambosos' victory?
Are we supposed to look at George and say he's less than based on Teofimo's personal struggles, based on Teofimo's personal issues? These are the issues that you're expected to keep in check.
We all got our own struggles.
But we've all still got a job to do, in spite of those issues, in spite of those struggles. That being said, I cannot look at George Kambosos and his victory as being less than based on the instability of Team Lopez. It's up to you guys to get it together.
And it's the same for everybody.
I don't want to kick this young man when he's down. But if I have to characterize what led him here, it was mismanagement.
Too many people with their own angle.
Their own agenda. If Team Lopez, the whole team knew that Teofimo's struggling to make 135 pounds, that he's busting at the seams, and he has been for some time, why would they allow this situation to have dragged on as long as it dragged on? For a couple more dollars.
Look at what it costed him.
It seems to me that the green-eyed monster got the better of them, and I've maintained throughout that they should have let Top Rank do this fight because it's not a big fight, it's not an important fight, it's not a major fight, and the sooner they get this fight done, the sooner they can move on to something bigger, something better. But they wanted more money than Top Rank was willing to pay. It goes to a purse bid, and the rest is history. They lose all that time over there on Trilla. Matchroom, they placed the second highest bid. They ended up doing the fight, but they ended up doing the fight
over a year after the Lomachenko fight.
Do you now see why I stated so many times in so many videos the last couple of weeks, the last couple of months, but it's very unwise. This was very unwise to have lost this much time after Teofimo Lopez's biggest win, a monumental win for him that could have served as a platform to launch his career into the next stratosphere. Do you now see why I said so many times this was a bad idea?
And they should have just let Top Rank do the fight.
Because it might have been for less money, but the fight itself, it would have happened sooner than later, and certain issues that arose, they would have, perhaps could have, been averted.
I mean, that's the tune that Teofimo's dad is singing.
Oh, now he says they should have stood with Top Rank. Yeah, that's what I've been saying the whole time.
Just didn't make sense to lose that amount of time on this.
Even if it was for a little bit more money. If you would have let Top Rank do the fight at their price, yeah, you wouldn't have made as much, but you probably would have made even more towards the end of the year when they situate a bigger fight for you. You didn't do that. You focused on the short game instead of the long one. There's not going to be a rematch. Teofimo's not going to run it back. He has completely outgrown the lightweight division, and his next stop upon his return will be
next year,
140 pounds. I wondered that Top Rank wouldn't cut Teofimo Lopez loose after this loss, the way they did Elvis Rodriguez when he suffered his first professional loss at the hands of Kenny Sims. But it appears that the people over there at Top Rank are not unsympathetic. Bruce Trimpler says, Teofimo, I've known you since the amateurs. You're a better fighter than you showed in the ring on Saturday, and a better person than you showed after the fight. I'll see you back in Vegas.
Yeah, Teofimo's not a bad fighter.
I don't think he's a bad fighter, but I do think he took his eyes off the ball, focused on the wrong things, and he paid the price. George Kambosos Jr. proved to be the better man the night of the fight, the better boxer.
To the victor go the spoils.
Bruce Trempler added, so all those people who criticize Top Rank when we release losing fighters now want us to cut Teofimo Lopez? You guys have to be more consistent. And
I'm not advising that Top Rank drop Teofimo Lopez.
certainly not advocating for that. I just thought that they might, given how the Elvis Rodriguez situation played out. Elvis Rodriguez was an up-and-coming, unbeaten fighter. He loses one fight.
They cut him loose.
So I thought they might do the same thing to Teofimo.
But it doesn't look like they will.
In some ways, that's a good thing, that he still has that relationship and Top Rank, ESPN, to return to. Though I think that Teofimo, sometime next year, could very soon find himself in a sink-or-swim situation, because Top Rank grooms the best fighters, the very best fighters, and they do it because they don't coddle them.
But he's gonna hold his fucking hand over there.
I wouldn't be at all surprised to hear that Teofimo Lopez's very next fight is against someone like Barboza or maybe Jose Zapata.
I wouldn't be at all surprised to see him taking on a credible threat in his next fight.
Because at Top Rank, you have to earn your keep. You have to earn your way. Top Rank has consistently groomed the best fighters, the very best fighters, for many, many years because they don't coddle them. They don't protect them. You're going to find out what you really are at Top Rank.
Maybe they have him fight Josue Vargas at 140 pounds.
A crossroads fight between two young fighters that are coming right off of their first professional losses. Josue having been knocked out by Jose Zapata, and Teofimo Lopez having been upset by George Kambosos. Moving forward, there are going to be changes needed to Teofimo Lopez's corner if he is to rebound, fully rebound off of this.
The shenanigans have got to stop.
And the mismanagement, as it was mismanagement that led young Teofimo Lopez here. The time when the world was his oyster and he was set to do big things, he lost all those alphabet titles and was upset in his very next fight. And that's due to mismanagement.
Something's got to change, and it's got to change now.
And just in keeping with the theme of all things lightweight, George Kambosos Jr. on Teofimo Lopez claiming he won their fight 10-2. I don't need to respond to that. The whole world, look at what people are saying. He's delusional. He'll go back and look at it and go, I was wrong. He lost a lot of fans from doing that. George has declared that he'd welcome a fight with Haney in 2022. Yes, 100%. But that's got to be in Australia. I've taken the hard road, been in the trenches overseas. I've got everything now. So if they want a shot, they've got to come see me. And I am in agreement with that sentiment. George Kambosos hasn't been hiding out in his native Australia, making a name for himself domestically. He's been out there, abroad, on foreign soil, earning his stripes and doing what he had to do to get here. So why should he, after all he's already done, acquiesce to the Americans?
He did it the hard way.
I think that young George will return to Australia and receive a hero's welcome. I think that comparatively, George Kambosos might very well have more marquee value in Australia than Haney has here in America. That's what I think. We know that there is some demand for the fight between Haney and
George
Kambosos. Michael Benson ran a poll, Lazy Sunday poll, out of 7,000 people. The guy that got the most votes, as far as who the fans want to see George fight, the guy that got the most votes was Devin.
Even though everyone's throwing their name into the hat.
Ryan Gersha, Shakur Stevenson, Haney, Vasyl Lomachenko, he's been eerily silent throughout all of this. Never one to mince very many words to begin with. He's one to watch out for because he's making his way back to world title contention.
He's going to be fighting Richard Comey.
Teofimo didn't want to give Vasyl Lomachenko a rematch back when Teofimo had those belts. And it doesn't look like a rematch is underway since Teofimo's set to move up to 140 pounds in his very next fight. I sincerely doubt, that Vasyl Lomachenko will follow him up there. Fight him for what? Doesn't have any world titles.
Vasyl might reshift his focus and target George.
So I feel in his heart of hearts, Vasyl Lomachenko probably still wants that Teofimo Lopez fight. I think in his heart of hearts, as a competitor, an Olympian, and a former champion, I think in his heart of hearts he still wants that rematch, but if he can't get it, the next best thing would be getting George Kambosos.
George has to be careful now.
He's coming off a monumental win, a career best win, but he's effectively painted a target on his back. There are several targets on his back, and they're hot on his trail. The hunter has effectively become the hunted, and I don't really think it's likely that Shakur Stevenson gets the Kambosos fight. I don't think Ryan gets it either, or Gervonta Davis for that matter. Gervonta Davis exists in a reality parallel to the world of boxing, though not exactly a part of it. Remember what Leonard and Floyd said. It's all in-house fights moving forward for Gervonta Davis, the way it's always been. I don't actually think Gervonta is going to get a crack at George Kambosos Jr., in spite of Gervonta being in line by way of the WBA. Should he make it past Isaac Cruz? Am I expecting to see Gervonta Davis versus George Kambosos in 2022? No, I'm not.
No!
George doesn't seem to have any mandatories lying in wait. At this time, he doesn't. That could very soon change. One among them could be Vasyl Lomachenko. Another could be Gervonta Davis. And because George Kambosos is insistent that if these guys want him, they're going to have to get their passports out and travel to Australia, I don't really think Gervonta Davis is going to pursue the fight. But Vasyl Lomachenko, well, that's another matter. That's another kettle of fish entirely. I think he would travel to Australia for that fight. He traveled to the United Kingdom to fight Luke Campbell, and Vasyl Lomachenko was the champion. Luke was the challenger.
Vasyl Lomachenko ain't afraid to travel.
There's a lot of talk of a Haney versus Kambosos fight, but what you have to ask yourself is, who's more likely to travel for that fight? Heaven Haney or Vasyl Lomachenko?
Of course, George ain't gonna bend over for you guys.
He's not going to acquiesce to being the B-side. He's not going to concede to you guys. You guys ain't got a monumental win the way he's got a monumental win. A big upset win over a guy that the bookies favored to beat him. And the fans. This is what we have to think about moving forward. Who's more likely to get that George Kambosos fight in 2022? Vasyl Lomachenko or Heaven Haney?
I think it might come down to those two more than the others.
Not going to be a Lopez rematch, and Shakur Stevenson don't even fight at lightweight.
Something to think about.